Commander Jothik of the Krinthar Empire had hunted across 17 star systems. His species had evolved at the top of their world's food chain, their four eyes positioned for maximum depth perception, their reflexes honed by millions of years of pursuit and kill. When he first saw the human delegation boarding the neutral station, he felt something he hadn't experienced in decades: recognition. The humans walked with a peculiar gait, neither the cautious shuffle of prey species nor the aggressive stride of his own kind. But their eyes, those forward-facing predators' eyes, tracked everything. Every movement, every shadow, every potential threat in the docking bay. Jothik's third heart quickened involuntarily. "They are omnivores," his tactical officer hissed dismissively. "Barely worth our concern." But Jothik knew better. He had seen those eyes before, staring back at him from the reflection in his weapon's scope. Hunter's eyes. The Galactic Council had been skeptical when humanity applied for membership. Earth was an unremarkable world in an unremarkable system, and its dominant species seemed physically inferior to most spacefaring civilizations. They had no natural armor like the Thornbacks, no venom like the Slith, no size advantage like the Goliath tribes. Just soft skin, fragile bones, and a disturbing tendency to smile with their teeth showing. Ambassador Chen represented humanity that day. She was small by galactic standards, barely reaching Jothik's thorax. Yet when she addressed the council, every apex predator in the chamber felt a chill run through their genetic memory. "We come in peace," she said, her lips pulling back slightly in what her species called a smile. Her eyes, however, told a different story. They held the weight of 10,000 years of warfare, of species hunted to extinction, of survival against impossible odds. "But we understand the language of strength." The Vraxian ambassador, a creature whose kind had evolved from pack hunters on a high-gravity death world, leaned forward. His translator crackled. "You claim to understand predation, human? Your world had no megafauna, no great predators to test your mettle." Chen's smile widened, showing more teeth. "Ambassador, we didn't have great predators because we killed them all. Every single one." The chamber fell silent. The cave bear, the saber-tooth, the dire wolf, all extinct. Not by natural causes, but by us. We didn't just survive on Earth. We dominated it so completely that we had to invent rules to prevent ourselves from hunting everything into oblivion. She paused, letting her words sink in. "We became our own apex predator. Then we got bored and started hunting each other for sport, for resources, for ideas. We nearly drove ourselves extinct multiple times before we learned to channel it differently." Jothik found himself leaning back, his hackles rising. This tiny creature spoke truths that resonated in the oldest parts of his brain. He had studied Earth's history as part of his intelligence briefing. The humans had indeed been terrifyingly efficient killers. What other species turned the hunt into an art form? What other species developed thousands of ways to kill? Not out of necessity, but out of innovation. "Your species practices persistence hunting," he said suddenly, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "You chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. This is not the way of an apex predator." Chen turned those unsettling eyes on him. "Commander Jothik, isn't it? You're partially correct. We do practice persistence hunting. But you misunderstand why it's terrifying." She walked closer to his delegation, and he noticed none of his guards move to intercept her. They were frozen, instincts warring with protocol. "We don't just chase prey until it collapses. We chase it while calculating its every move, predicting its behavior, understanding its fear. We throw projectiles while running, something that requires predictive modeling most species can't compute consciously. We sweat to cool our bodies, an almost unique adaptation that lets us run in conditions that would kill most hunters. And here's the thing, Commander. We never stop. Not when we're tired, not when it's dark, not when it seems impossible. We just keep coming." The Slith representative, whose species ambushed prey with lightning strikes of venomous precision, hissed uncomfortably. "This is merely endurance, not true predation." "Is it?" Chen pulled up a holographic display. "Let me show you something." This is a project from the 20th century, before we reached the stars. We called it the marathon. The display showed humans running, not for survival, not for hunting, but voluntarily pushing their bodies to collapse. 26 miles for fun. We got so good at persistence hunting that we had to invent ways to push ourselves harder. We race against each other. We add weight to our bodies and run up mountains. We swim vast distances, bike for hundreds of miles, then run marathons all in sequence, and we call it a triathlon. Some humans do this for 100 miles, through deserts, through frozen tundra, because we can. She switched the display to show other images. Humans climbing mountains that should be impossible to scale, humans diving to crushing depths, humans surviving in every biome their planet offered. We are persistently, relentlessly, obsessively driven to test our limits. And when we find those limits, we don't accept them. We train, we adapt, we overcome. Jathik felt something he rarely experienced. Respect mingled with wariness. You make yourselves sound like monsters. No, Commander. Chen's expression softened, but her eyes remained sharp. We make ourselves sound like survivors. Like hunters who learned to hunt smarter, not just harder. Like a species that looked at the universe and decided we belonged among the stars. She paused. Your species hunts with speed and strength. The Slith with venom and surprise. The Vraxians with pack coordination. We humans, we hunt with something far more dangerous. Patience, intelligence, and the absolute refusal to give up. She gestured to the viewing port where Earth hung in the distance, a blue marble against the cosmic dark. We didn't evolve in a kind universe, and Earth wasn't a kind mother. She tested us with ice ages, predators, diseases, and our own worst impulses. And we're still here, still looking forward, still hunting for what comes next. The council chamber remained quiet as Chen returned to her position. Jathik looked at his fellow predator species representatives and saw his own realization reflected. In their postures, their eyes, their involuntary defensive stances, they had all assumed humans were prey that had gotten lucky with intelligence. But those eyes told a different story. They were the eyes of a predator that had learned to hunt time itself, to pursue goals across generations, to never abandon the chase. The eyes of a species that had looked at an entire planet and decided to claim it. The eyes that now looked at the galaxy with the same hunger. As the Council voted to accept humanity's application, Jathik made a mental note to recommend an alliance rather than opposition. He had hunted enough to know a simple truth. When you recognize a fellow apex predator, you have two choices: make them your ally, or spend the rest of your existence looking over your shoulder, and those human eyes never stopped watching.